All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on something really fascinating, a system of persuasion. We're going to break down step by step the psychology and the tactics that go into a massive $25,000 in-home sale.
I mean, think about it for a second. How on earth do you convince a total stranger to drop 25 grand on a new roof in their own house in the middle of a brutal winter? It sounds impossible. But for the pros and high-ticket in-home sales, this is just another Tuesday. It's not about luck, it's about having a system, a masterclass in psychological influence, really. So let's dive right in.
So right off the bat, you need to understand the big secret here. It's not about having a better product. It's not even about having a lower price. The key is having a better process, a really carefully crafted system that's all about psychology. And it all starts with one thing: controlling the conversation and the entire environment from the second they step inside.
And listen to this from a 23-year sales vet, Billy Drake. He says his biggest month ever was January, smack in the middle of a hard winter. You'd think that'd be the worst time to sell a roof, right? But the pros, they don't just endure it, they thrive in it. And why is that? Well, it's simple. When it's cold and miserable out, nobody wants to stand on the porch and talk. Getting inside the house is way easier. And once you're in, you control the entire experience.
Okay, so once they're inside, the salesperson goes through this really interesting transformation. It's like they're putting on different hats. They start as the friend, building that initial rapport. Then they switch to the inspector, the expert. From there, it's advisor, pitchman, and finally, the closer. They just flow from one role to the next, and each step is deliberately designed to build more and more trust and authority.
And here's the absolute kicker, again from Billy Drake. He says the decision, the real decision on whether they'll do business with you, is made in step 1 and step 2. Think about that. The sale isn't made when they're talking about shingles and prices. It's won or lost in those first 2 phases, the friend and the inspector. If you don't nail that part, nothing else you say matters.
So, how do they do it? How do they build that trust so fast? Well, it's all about constant engagement. Little things, right? They'll use your name over and over. They'll involve you. Hey, John, could you hold this ladder for me for a sec? They'll give you props to hold, like a heat gun, so you can feel the technology. They'll even use cool tech like 3D models of your own house to keep you entertained. It's not a pitch anymore. It becomes this collaborative, hands-on project that you're doing together.
Okay, so now that they've built trust and established control, the real presentation begins. But this is not going to be a boring list of features and benefits. No way. This is storytelling. They craft a narrative with a really clear hero and a really clear villain. And the whole point is to make their product feel like the only logical, obvious choice. And here's the core strategy. They take the standard stuff, the builder-grade materials that most contractors use, and they frame that as the villain. It's old, it's weak, it's just a Band-Aid fix. But their company system, oh, that's the hero. It's the permanent solution, the one that brings you safety and total peace of mind.
The first battleground is the underlayment. The villain here is regular old felt paper. They'll call it 100-year-old technology, say it's basically a sponge that just soaks up water and tears if you look at it wrong. But the hero? That's their special synthetic underlayment. We're talking 4 layers, passes hurricane tests, and it literally seals itself around every single nail. It's night and day.
And then you get to the shingles themselves. The villain shingle is the cheap builder-grade one. It's thin, it's flimsy, and they'll show you how a nail can just blow right through the nailing zone. But the hero shingle, well, this one has a thick, dual-woven core. And, crucially, this reinforced nailing strip they call the armor zone. The idea is that it's practically impossible for high winds to ever rip this thing off.
And this is just brilliant. They take what seems like a huge negative, installing a roof in the freezing cold, and they flip it into a positive. You hear it right from an installer. Don't apologize for this weather. Why? Because when the shingles are cold, they get firmer. And that means the nails set perfectly, instead of blasting right through a soft, hot shingle in the summer. It's a better installation because of the cold. Genius.
So we have our hero product. Everyone's on board. But now comes the big elephant in the room, the price. And a system like this doesn't just drop a big number and hope for the best. Oh no. Before a single dollar amount is even mentioned, they roll out a series of psychological moves to make that price not just palatable, but logical.
The first move is a classic.
It's called isolating on payment. So before they tell you it's $25,000, they'll ask a simple question. Just so we're on the same page, what kind of monthly payment would you be comfortable with for a project like this? And just like that, the conversation isn't about a huge, scary number anymore. It's about a small, manageable monthly figure.
Next up is something called the add-subtract technique. It's a brilliant script. First, they add value. They'll walk you back through all the hero features you already agreed you loved. You like that armor zone, right? Well, that adds a little cost, but it's the permanent fix. Then they subtract quality. Now, we could use that cheap felt paper, and it would be cheaper, but that's not a permanent solution, is it? See what's happening? They're getting you to agree step by step that paying more is the only smart option.
So let's say the moment of truth arrives. The price is 25 grand, but you were really hoping to be closer to 20. That's a $5,000 gap. That's a lot of money. So how in the world do you make that $5,000 difference feel like nothing?
This is where the real magic happens. They use a powerful math trick. Some people call it going from the ridiculous to the sublime. They take that big, scary $5,000 number and they just divide. They break it down over the expected life of the roof. And look what happens. That nearly $5,000 problem suddenly becomes about $40 a month. Or even better, just $1.38 a day. They have completely reframed a huge financial decision into the price of a cup of coffee. And the question becomes, who wouldn't pay an extra $1 a day to get the permanent hero solution instead of that temporary fix? It's incredibly effective.
Okay, so the price has been framed, it's been justified, you've crunched the numbers down to $1 a day. Now we get to the grand finale, the negotiation. And you got to understand, this is not some random back and forth. This is a scripted 3-act play. It's all designed to create urgency and make you feel like you're getting an incredible deal.
It works like this. The price starts high, and then it gets lowered in 3 distinct pre-planned drops. First, there's a small factory discount, just to get things going. Then comes a bigger one, maybe for being flexible on the install date. And the final offer? That's the rock-bottom price that always requires a dramatic, hushed phone call to the manager for special approval. Every drop has a reason, so you feel like you're earning these discounts. And what's absolutely wild is that the data shows a whopping 75% of all sales happen right at that second discount. That is not a coincidence. It's the psychological sweet spot. It's big enough to feel like a huge win for you, but it's an exchange for a tiny concession, like just being flexible on when they can start. It feels like a steal. So when you step back and look at all these pieces, the roles, the hero-villain story, the price psychology, the scripted discounts, you realize this isn't just a handful of clever sales tricks. This is a complete, highly engineered system of persuasion from start to finish.
So let's just recap the playbook, right? First, you control the environment to build trust. Then, you create that simple hero versus villain narrative. You justify the high price by adding value and subtracting quality. You shrink the price difference down to nothing, and you follow that scripted 3-stage discount. Every single thing we've talked about is designed to do one thing: guide you smoothly toward a single, predetermined outcome.
And the system is so powerful, they can end with a line like this: I feel really bad for the guy in 30, 35, 40 years that has to try to rip it off. He better pack a lunch that day. It's kind of a joke, right? But what does it do? It turns the roof's biggest strength, its permanence, into this final, powerful selling point. It just cements the idea that this thing is built to last forever.
And that really brings us to the big question, doesn't it? When you see the whole system laid out like this from start to finish, is it a masterclass in professional persuasion? A really effective way of selling a great product? Or is it a finely tuned playbook for high-pressure manipulation? I'll leave you with that. It's definitely something to think about the next time you find yourself in any kind of negotiation.